The skies over Earth darkened without warning. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. Every screen on the planet suddenly flickered to life, showing the same terrifying image. A creature with multiple eyes and glistening scales glared at humanity. Its voice boomed through speakers worldwide, making babies cry and adults shudder. "Humans of Earth," it growled, "your time is over. Your worlds will burn." John Smith, a regular office worker in New York, stared at his phone in disbelief. Around him, people on the busy street stopped in their tracks. Cars screeched to a halt. The alien's message continued, describing humanity as a disease that needed to be cured. In Washington, D.C., President Sarah Johnson's day changed in an instant. She was rushed to a secure bunker, surrounded by anxious advisors. The alien threat was real, and they had no idea how to respond. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In Beijing, the government called an emergency meeting. In Moscow, military leaders scrambled to assess their readiness. In a small village in Kenya, a young girl named Amani hugged her grandmother, both terrified by the creature on their old TV. As panic spread, some people ran to stores, buying all the food and supplies they could. Others huddled in their homes, unsure what to do. A few brave souls took to the streets, holding signs that read, "We come in peace," but their hopeful messages seemed small against the aliens' threats. John found himself caught in a crowd rushing towards the subway. "Maybe we'll be safer underground," someone shouted. But John wondered if anywhere was truly safe now. In orbit, astronauts on the International Space Station watched in horror as massive ships appeared from nowhere. These vessels were bigger than cities, their dark shapes blotting out the stars. Back in the White House bunker, President Johnson faced the toughest decision of her life. Should she reveal all of America's military secrets to the world in hopes of a united defense? Or would that just make them more vulnerable? "Madam President," her top general said, "we need to strike first. Show these aliens we won't go down without a fight." But the Secretary of State disagreed. "We don't know their capabilities. A first strike could doom us all." As leaders argued, ordinary people faced their own challenges. In a London hospital, Dr. Emma Chen worked tirelessly to calm her patients. "The aliens may be advanced," she told a scared child, "but we humans are pretty amazing too. We've faced big problems before." Meanwhile, in a secret lab in Tokyo, scientist Hiroshi Tanaka made a startling discovery. The alien transmission had left traces, a complex code hidden in the signal. This could be the key to understanding them, he whispered, his hands shaking with excitement and fear. As the first day of the alien threat neared its end, humanity teetered on the edge. Fear was everywhere, but so was determination. In New York, John finally made it home, hugging his family tight. In Kenya, Amani and her grandmother joined neighbors in singing traditional songs of strength. And in labs, bunkers, and homes around the world, people began to plan. The aliens had made their threat clear. Humanity's worlds would burn. But as the sun set on this terrifying day, a new thought began to spread. Humanity had faced extinction before, from ice ages, plagues, and their own weapons. Each time, they had survived. Perhaps this threat, no matter how alien, would be no different. As John tucked his children into bed, he made a silent promise. "We'll find a way," he thought. "We always do." Little did John know, his determination was shared by billions. The next day would bring new challenges, but also the first seeds of hope. Humanity was down, but not out. The fight for survival had only just begun. As the sun rose on the second day of the alien threat, humanity began to shake off its initial shock. The world was forever changed, but people were adapting as they always had. In New York, John Smith woke early, his mind racing with plans. He worked in data analysis, a skill that might now help save lives. "I'm going to volunteer at the city's emergency center," he told his worried wife. She nodded, understanding the need to act. Across the ocean, in a bustling war room in London, world leaders gathered virtually. The British Prime Minister spoke first, her voice firm despite the fear in her eyes. We must unite as never before. Our petty conflicts mean nothing in the face of extinction. Agreement came swiftly. Ancient enemies pledged to work together. Resources were pooled, and a global defense force began to take shape. In Kenya, young Amani watched as her village transformed. People who had little to spare shared everything. Her grandmother, once thought too old to be useful, now led efforts to stockpile food and water. We've survived droughts and wars, the old woman said. We'll survive this too. Meanwhile, in the secret lab in Tokyo, scientist Hiroshi Tanaka worked without rest. The hidden code in the alien message was complex, but patterns were emerging. It's not just a threat, he muttered, eyes red from lack of sleep. There's something more here. As Hiroshi worked, Earth's first line of defense was taking shape. In orbit, astronauts from a dozen nations came together on the International Space Station. Their mission: to turn the scientific outpost into a military observation post. Commander Elena Rodriguez, a veteran pilot from Argentina, took charge. We're humanity's eyes now, she told her crew. If those alien ships move, we need to know first. Back on Earth, President Johnson made a bold decision. In a global broadcast, she revealed the existence of long-hidden military technology. We have weapons beyond your imagination, she announced, hoping the aliens were listening and were not afraid to use them. The revelation sparked hope, but also new fears. If such weapons existed, what else had governments kept secret? Trust would be a crucial resource in the days to come. In cities around the world, a mix of panic and preparation continued. Some people fled to the countryside, hoping to escape future attacks. Others fortified their homes, creating bunkers out of basements and spare rooms. But amidst the fear, there were moments of incredible humanity. In Paris, a group of chefs opened their restaurants, cooking free meals for anyone in need. In Rio de Janeiro, Samba schools turned their warehouses into shelters. And in Mumbai, Bollywood stars used their fame to spread messages of hope and unity. As evening approached, a new threat emerged. The alien ships in orbit began to move. Commander Rodriguez and her team watched in horror as one massive vessel descended towards Earth. It's heading for the Pacific Ocean, Rodriguez reported, her voice tense. World leaders braced for an attack, fingers hovering over launch buttons for Earth's most powerful weapons. But the alien ship didn't attack. Instead, it began to draw massive amounts of water into itself. Within hours, sea levels had dropped noticeably. Coastal cities that had been preparing for bombardment now faced a different crisis. In his New York apartment, John watched the news in disbelief. They're not burning our worlds, he realized. They're stealing our resources. This revelation changed everything. It wasn't just a fight for survival now. It was a race to protect Earth's very essence. As night fell again, humanity faced this new challenge with growing determination. In labs around the world, scientists like Hiroshi worked on ways to repel the resource-hungry aliens. In fields and forests, farmers and conservationists made plans to protect vital ecosystems. And in homes everywhere, ordinary people like John, Amani, and countless others steeled themselves for the fight ahead. The aliens had come to take their world, but humanity was ready to show just how hard they would fight to keep it. The stage was set for a battle unlike any in human history. And as the world held its breath, no one could predict what the next day would bring. The third day of the alien invasion dawned with an eerie calm. The massive alien ship continued to hover over the Pacific, sucking up water at an alarming rate. Coastal cities worldwide were in chaos as ports became unusable and marine life struggled in the shrinking oceans. In New York, John Smith arrived at the emergency center, ready to put his data skills to use. He was immediately thrust into a team analyzing patterns in the aliens' water extraction. If we can predict their next move, we might have a chance to stop them, his new boss explained. Meanwhile, in Kenya, Amani and her grandmother joined a group heading inland. The nearby lake, vital to their village's survival, was shrinking rapidly. As they walked, Amani noticed something strange. Plants seemed to be growing faster than normal, as if racing to capture the last bits of moisture from the air. Across the globe, in the secret Tokyo lab, Hiroshi Tanaka made a breakthrough. The hidden code in the alien message wasn't just a threat. It was a map. They're not just after our water, he realized with a gasp. They're looking for something buried deep in the Earth's crust. Hiroshi's discovery quickly reached world leaders. In Washington, President Johnson called an emergency meeting. "We need to find whatever they're looking for before they do," she declared. Teams of geologists and miners were immediately mobilized. But the aliens were already one step ahead. As the day progressed, new ships appeared in the sky. These were smaller, faster, and headed straight for key locations around the globe. Commander Elena Rodriguez watched helplessly from the space station as the alien crafts breached Earth's atmosphere. "They're targeting specific sites," she reported. "Ancient ruins, dormant volcanoes, deep-sea trenches." On the ground, the first alien encounters began. In Egypt, a team of archaeologists fled as a ship landed near the Great Pyramid. In Iceland, villagers watched in awe as aliens emerged from a craft and began drilling into a glacier. The world held its breath, waiting for the carnage to begin. But something unexpected happened. The aliens, though clearly advanced and powerful, made no move to harm humans directly. They seemed focused entirely on their mysterious excavations. This didn't mean Earth was safe, however. The environmental impact of the aliens' actions was catastrophic. As they drilled and dug, earthquakes shook cities and tsunamis threatened coastlines. In the midst of this chaos, pockets of human resistance began to form. John's data team in New York discovered a pattern in the aliens' movements. With this information, military forces managed to intercept and destroy one of the smaller alien ships. The victory was short-lived. The main alien vessel retaliated, sending a pulse of energy that knocked out power across North America. As darkness fell, panic spread. But in the blackout, Amani's observations in Kenya gained new importance. Her grandmother, listening to the girl's description of the rapidly growing plants, had an idea. "The aliens are changing our world," she said, "but maybe we can use those changes against them." Word of the unusual plant growth spread quickly. In labs that still had power, scientists began studying samples, looking for anything that might give humanity an edge. As the third day of the invasion neared its end, the situation seemed dire. Alien ships were scattered across the globe, oceans were receding, and strange phenomena were being reported worldwide. Yet hope remained. Hiroshi's decoded map was guiding teams to locations the aliens hadn't reached yet. The destroyed ship provided valuable tech for human scientists to study, and Amani's plants hinted at unforeseen consequences of the alien presence, consequences that might just tip the scales. In New York, John worked through the night by candlelight, crunching numbers and looking for patterns. In Kenya, Amani and her grandmother taught others how to cultivate the new, quick-growing plants. And in orbit, Commander Rodriguez and her team maintained their vigil, humanity's eyes in the sky. The aliens had made their move. Now, as a new day approached, it was humanity's turn to respond. The fight for Earth was far from over, and the next 24 hours would prove crucial in determining the fate of the entire planet. As the fourth day of the alien invasion began, humanity's resistance efforts kicked into high gear. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a grim determination to fight back against the otherworldly threat. In New York, John Smith's data analysis team made a crucial discovery. "There's a pattern to their drilling sites," he explained to military leaders via a secure video call. "They're not random. They're forming a giant grid across the Earth's surface." This information proved vital. Using John's data, Earth's military forces managed to predict the aliens' next targets. As alien ships descended on these locations, they were met with fierce resistance. In the skies above Brazil, human fighter jets engaged in a dogfight with alien craft. The human pilots were outmatched in terms of technology, but their bravery and ingenuity led to several alien ships being shot down. Each crashed vessel was quickly secured and transported to secret labs for study. Meanwhile, in Kenya, Amani's observation about the rapidly growing plants had sparked a global scientific effort. Researchers discovered that the plants were not just growing faster, they were evolving at an unprecedented rate, adapting to the changing environment caused by the alien presence. Dr. Emma Chen, the London-based scientist, had been flown to Kenya to study this phenomenon. These plants are absorbing and processing the alien energy emissions, she explained to a rapt audience of scientists and world leaders. If we can harness this process, we might be able to create a natural defense against their technology. In Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka continued to decipher the alien code. His latest breakthrough was staggering. "They're not just after our water and minerals," he reported. "They're trying to tap into the Earth's core itself." This revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. If the aliens succeeded in disrupting the Earth's core, it could lead to global catastrophe on a scale never before seen. Humanity's leaders knew they had to act fast. In a historic moment, the United Nations convened an emergency session, with every nation on Earth participating. Old enemies set aside their differences in the face of this existential threat. President Johnson addressed the assembly. "We face an enemy that seeks not just to conquer us, but to strip our very planet bare. But today we stand united. Today we fight not as nations, but as Earth." The stirring speech was met with thunderous applause. A global defense strategy was quickly formulated, combining military might with scientific innovation. In orbit, Commander Rodriguez and her team on the International Space Station played a crucial role. Using their unique vantage point, they coordinated Earth's defenses, providing real-time information on alien ship movements. But the aliens were not idle. As if sensing the growing human resistance, they intensified their efforts. More water-extracting ships appeared in Earth's oceans, accelerating the drop in sea levels. The environmental impact was catastrophic, with marine ecosystems collapsing and weather patterns thrown into chaos. In New York, John worked tirelessly, his eyes red from staring at screens. His team's predictions had saved lives, but the aliens were adapting, changing their patterns. "We need to think like them," John muttered, pushing himself to the limit. In Kenya, Amani and her grandmother helped Dr. Chen set up a makeshift lab. The young girl's keen observations continued to provide valuable insights into the alien-influenced plant life. "You have a scientist's eye," Dr. Chen told Amani, giving the girl hope for a future beyond this crisis. As night fell on the fourth day, humanity had scored some victories, but the war was far from won. The alien ships continued their ominous drill into the Earth, drawing ever closer to the planet's core. Yet for the first time since the invasion began, there was a tangible sense of hope. In laboratories, factories, and military bases around the world, humans worked round the clock, developing new weapons and strategies. The crashed alien ships had yielded some of their secrets, allowing for rapid advancements in technology. The stage was set for a decisive battle. As the world held its breath, everyone knew that the coming day would likely determine the fate of the entire planet. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but they were not going down without a fight. The aliens had threatened to burn their worlds, but Earth's children were proving to be far more resilient than anyone, human or alien, had anticipated. The fifth day of the alien invasion dawned with an air of tense anticipation. Humanity's united front had made progress, but the aliens' relentless assault on Earth's resources continued unabated. In New York, John Smith hadn't slept in 36 hours. His data team's predictions had become the backbone of Earth's defense strategy. As he pored over the latest figures, he noticed something odd. "The aliens' drilling pattern has changed," he muttered, his tired mind racing. Across the world, in Kenya, young Amani worked alongside Dr. Emma Chen in their makeshift lab. The alien-influenced plants had grown into a dense, pulsating forest overnight. It's like they're trying to tell us something, Amani said, gently touching a vibrating leaf. Dr. Chen nodded, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. These plants are our key to understanding the aliens' technology. We just need to decode their language. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, a daring plan was underway. A team of engineers and marine biologists had repurposed an old nuclear submarine, fitting it with experimental technology reverse-engineered from the downed alien ships. Captain Yuki Tanaka, Hiroshi's sister, stood at the helm. "We're going to hit them where they least expect it," she told her crew. Their mission: to disrupt the massive water extraction ship from beneath the waves. As the submarine dived deeper, the alien vessel loomed above them, a dark shadow blotting out the sun. Captain Tanaka steeled herself. "Activate the cloaking device," she ordered. The technology, barely understood and highly unstable, flickered to life. Back on land, the situation was growing dire. The aliens had begun targeting major cities, their ships hovering ominously overhead. In London, Paris, and Beijing, millions huddled in fear, waiting for an attack that hadn't yet come. President Johnson, coordinating with world leaders from a mobile command center, made a difficult decision. "We need to evacuate the cities," she announced. "We can't risk losing so many lives if those ships decide to attack." The largest human migration in history began as residents of major urban centers fled to the countryside. It was chaos, but amidst the panic, there were countless acts of kindness and bravery. In orbit, Commander Rodriguez watched the mass exodus with a heavy heart, but her team had no time for sorrow. They were busy coordinating the daring counterattack. Earth's remaining military forces were preparing to launch a simultaneous strike on all known alien drilling sites. As tensions reached a boiling point, Hiroshi Tanaka in Tokyo made a startling discovery. The alien code, which he'd been deciphering for days, contained more than just a map. "It's a message," he gasped. They're calling for help." This revelation shed new light on the invasion. Were these aliens not conquerors, but refugees? Desperate beings stripping Earth of resources as a last resort. Before Hiroshi could share his findings, the aliens made their most devastating move yet. A massive pulse of energy shot from their ships, targeting Earth's magnetic field. Auroras blazed across the sky, visible even in daylight. Electronic systems worldwide went haywire. In New York, John watched in horror as his computers failed. In Kenya, Amani and Dr. Chen rushed to protect their plant samples as lab equipment sparked and died. But in their darkest hour, humanity found an unexpected ally. The alien-influenced plants, now spread across much of the planet, began to glow. They seemed to be absorbing the harmful energy, protecting Earth's fragile ecosystems. Beneath the waves, Captain Tanaka saw her chance. With the aliens' defenses scrambled by their own energy pulse, she guided her submarine towards the massive extraction ship. "Fire the EMP," she commanded. The electromagnetic pulse, boosted by technology, gleaned from the alien wrecks, shot out. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a groan that seemed to shake the ocean itself, the alien ship began to power down. As the fifth day drew to a close, humanity had scored its first major victory. The water extraction had been halted, at least temporarily, but the war was far from over. In New York, John finally succumbed to exhaustion, slumping over his desk. In Kenya, Amani and Dr. Chen watched in awe as their plants continued to pulse with alien energy. And in Tokyo, Hiroshi worked frantically to translate the rest of the alien message, knowing that the fate of two species might rest on his shoulders. The aliens had brought humanity to the brink of destruction. But in doing so, they had united Earth like never before. As a new day approached, the people of Earth steeled themselves for the battles to come, knowing that their planet's future hung in the balance. The sixth day of the alien invasion began with a mixture of hope and dread. Humanity's first major victory had boosted morale, but the aliens' response was swift and terrifying. As dawn broke, the skies filled with an eerie, pulsating light. The alien mothership, silent since the initial threat, had awakened. Its massive form cast shadows over entire continents as it moved into low Earth orbit. In New York, John Smith jerked awake at his desk, alerted by blaring alarms. His team scrambled to analyze the new threat. It's not attacking, John realized, staring at the data streams. It's scanning the planet. Across the globe in Kenya, Amani and Dr. Emma Chen made a startling discovery. The alien-influenced plants were reacting to the mothership's scan, their glow intensifying and dimming in a clear pattern. It's communication, Dr. Chen breathed, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. The plants are talking to the ship. Amani, her young mind unencumbered by scientific constraints, had an idea. If the plants can talk to them, maybe we can talk through the plants. The girl reached out, touching a glowing leaf. To their astonishment, the plant's glow changed, responding to Amani's touch. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka had finally decoded the full alien message. He rushed to share his findings with world leaders. "They're not invaders," he explained, his voice shaking with emotion. "They're refugees. Their world is dying, and they desperately need resources to save their species." This revelation sent shockwaves through the global community. The United Nations convened an emergency session to debate their next move. Some argued for continued resistance, while others pushed for attempted communication. President Johnson, her face etched with the strain of sleepless nights, addressed the assembly. "We've seen the destruction these beings can cause, intentional or not. But we've also witnessed the resilience of our own planet. Perhaps there's a way we can help them without sacrificing ourselves." As debates raged, Captain Yuki Tanaka and her submarine crew made a daring decision. They would approach the disabled alien water extractor, not to destroy it, but to board it. "We need to understand their technology better," Yuki told her nervous crew, "and maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to communicate." The boarding was tense but surprisingly uneventful. The alien ship, powered down by the EMP, offered no resistance. Inside, the humans found an environment utterly foreign yet hauntingly beautiful. Back on land, militaries around the world remained on high alert. The alien mothership's scan had put everyone on edge. Fighter jets patrolled the skies, while ground forces stood ready to defend against any incursion. In orbit, Commander Elena Rodriguez and her space station crew worked tirelessly to understand the mothership's intentions. "It's not charging weapons," she reported to ground control, "but it's gathering immense amounts of data about Earth's biosphere." As the day progressed, an extraordinary event unfolded in Kenya. Amani, guided by intuition and encouraged by Dr. Chen, had managed to establish a rudimentary form of communication with the alien plants. Through a series of touches and mental impressions, Amani began to understand the aliens' plight. "They're scared," she told Dr. Chen, tears in her eyes. "Their world is freezing. They need warmth and water to survive." This information, combined with Hiroshi's decoded message, painted a clear picture of the aliens' desperation. They hadn't come to conquer, but to find a new home or the resources to save their dying world. As night fell on the sixth day, humanity stood at a crossroads. The alien threat had not diminished, but understanding had grown. In New York, John and his team worked on plans to share resources without decimating Earth. In the Pacific, Yuki and her crew delved deeper into alien technology, searching for solutions. And in Kenya, Amani fell asleep with her hand on a glowing plant, her dreams filled with visions of a world she'd never seen but somehow understood. The next day would be crucial. Would humanity extend a hand in peace or clench a fist in continued war? The fate of two species hung in the balance, with the Earth itself as the prize, or perhaps the shared home they both sought to claim. As the seventh day dawned, Earth stood on the brink of either a new era of interstellar cooperation or total annihilation. The revelations of the past 24 hours had changed everything. And now humanity faced its greatest test. In New York, John Smith and his team worked feverishly on a plan. If we can redirect our orbital solar arrays, he explained to world leaders via video conference, we might be able to provide the aliens with enough energy to save their world without destroying ours. Meanwhile, in Kenya, young Amani had become Earth's most unlikely diplomat. With Dr. Emma Chen by her side, the girl communicated with the alien-influenced plants, learning more about the visitors' plight. Their son is dying, Amani said, her voice filled with sadness. They've traveled so far, looking for a new home. As this information spread, public opinion began to shift. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, with people holding signs that read, "Share our home," and "Two species, one future." In the Pacific, Captain Yuki Tanaka made a breakthrough aboard the alien water extractor. Their technology isn't just advanced, she reported excitedly. It's adaptable. We might be able to repurpose it to restore Earth's damaged ecosystems. These developments placed immense pressure on world leaders. In a historic moment, the United Nations voted to attempt communication with the alien mothership. The message would be sent through multiple channels, radio signals, light patterns, and even through the network of alien-influenced plants that now covered much of the planet. President Johnson, chosen to deliver humanity's message, stood before a global audience. To our visitors from the stars, she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We understand your need and your fear. We too know the pain of a world in crisis. We propose not war, but cooperation. Not destruction, but mutual survival. As the message was transmitted, the world held its breath. Hours passed with no response. Tensions rose as military leaders argued for preemptive strikes, fearing the silence was a prelude to attack. But in Kenya, Amani felt a change. The plants around her vibrated with new energy. They're listening. She whispered to Dr. Chen. They're considering. Suddenly, the alien mothership began to move. Fighter jets scrambled, missiles were readied. The ship descended slowly, coming to rest in a vast desert. For a moment, the world stood still. Then, with a hiss of escaping air, a hatch opened. A single alien emerged. The creature was unlike anything humanity had imagined. It moved with fluid grace, its multifaceted eyes taking in the Earth's environment. In one appendage, it held a device that glowed with shifting colors. Amani, watching the live feed, gasped. "It's the same as the plants," she exclaimed. "They're using them to translate." Indeed, as the alien began to communicate, its words were transmitted through the network of plants, appearing as text on screens worldwide. "We have heard your offer," the message read. "We have seen your resilience, your adaptability, and your compassion. These are traits our species shares. We accept your proposal of cooperation." A wave of relief and joy swept across the globe. In New York, John and his team cheered. In the Pacific, Yuki wiped tears from her eyes. And in Kenya, Amani hugged Dr. Chen, both laughing and crying. The alien continued. "We will share our technology to heal your world and save ours. In return, we ask for a place among you to learn and grow together." As the seventh day came to a close, the world was transformed. The threat of extinction had brought out the best in humanity, uniting the planet in a way nothing else could have. Work began immediately. Alien technology, combined with human ingenuity, promised solutions to climate change, energy crisis, and resource scarcity. The visitors, no longer invaders but refugees, shared their knowledge of the cosmos. In the years that followed, Earth became a beacon of interstellar cooperation. The day the aliens came was remembered not as the start of an invasion, but as the beginning of a grand adventure. And it all began with a threat. Your worlds will burn. Instead, a new world was born, forged in the fire of crisis and cooled by the waters of compassion. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to take its place among the stars.